Mr Berger.
Thank you, President. I rise today to contribute to the Victorian Future Fund Bill 2023. I've spoken about this budget earlier in the day, so you know my opinions on it already. But to get onto the VFF, we first saw the Victorian Future Fund in 2022-23 budget when it first put forward as a decisive response to the fiscal impact of the COVID-19 pandemic here in Victoria, with the aim of ensuring that good debt that the Andrews Labor government took on to build and deliver a better Victoria. The Future Fund was introduced. The Victorian Future Fund found its initial footing through a notional allocation from within the Consolidated Fund, acknowledging the benefits of long-sighted approach to the Future Fund. The 2022-23 budget also anticipated additional contributions to the fund in the coming years. This includes revenue from government land sales and a share of future budget surpluses. This forward-looking approach set the stage for the fund's establishment and growth into the game-changing asset for the Victorian people. President, this bill establishes the fund as a statutory trust account under the Financial Management Act 1994. It sets out a framework for the administration of the fund and the new appointed and how to appoint a manager. It outlines the auditing process and reporting requirements and amends the Duties Act 2000 so that the fund manager is a qualified investor under the Act. President, compared to 3 years ago, our economy is well and truly full steam ahead. Employment has bounced back and we're fighting strong against inflation. But we wouldn't be there if it weren't for the important preventative efforts that we've taken at the beginning of the pandemic. Fiscal measures that were recommended by the Reserve Bank of Australia. Efforts and responses to the economy in the pandemic that had taken place in the face of an unprecedented one-of-the-century pandemic, with millions of Victorians outside of this chamber on the cusp of losing their jobs or falling into poverty. President, we have borrowed sensibly to invest in the future of our state, to invest in things that create jobs and boost the economy, infrastructure projects like the Metro Tunnel and the suburban rail loop will forever alter the nature of public transportation in Victoria. It will change the way that Victorians out in the suburbs of Melbourne use and interact with our transportation system. That's what investment under an Andrews Labor government looks like, fiscally responsible upgrades to our state's infrastructure for the benefit of everyday Victorians. That is why the fund exists, to manage the fiscal impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and deliver for all Victorians. We will reduce the debt burden on future generations. President, the Department of Treasury and Finance has consulted extensively on this bill, as we do with all bills. That includes the state's credit rating agencies, Berger and the VFMC in relation to the fund. We know by establishing this legislation, our state's credit ratings agencies will look upon us fondly. It demonstrates our strong commitment to managing the state's debt. President, we need to pay back the COVID debt credit card so that we can get on with doing the things that matter in this budget. Both New South Wales and Queensland have introduced legislation to establish their respective funds. This brings us into line with them. We know to receive the equivalent credit rating treatment, we must do the right thing. The Treasurer has the power to appoint a fund manager who possesses the necessary skills and experience. The fund manager is authorised to invest the money in the fund to provide the information to the Minister or Secretary as required for reporting purposes, so that the utmost level of transparency will be applied to a very important step in our state's financial recovery. The bill goes on to outline in Clause 12, Subclause 1 through to 3, that the Treasury may conduct audits of the fund or appoint a qualified person to do so in their stead. In summary, it's a straightforward bill, just what the Victorian public want and need. The Victorian Future Fund was first introduced in 2022-23, but as a response to our COVID credit card, our strategy has 4 stages. The first is create jobs, reduce unemployment and restore economic growth. The second is returning to an operating cash surplus. The third is returning to an operating surplus, and the fourth is stabilising debt levels. This budget delivers on that. The 2023-24 shows progress on the fourth step. The improvements of the government's cash position have flowed through to the net debt. That is expected to be $3.7 billion lower by June 2026, and we've committed to stabilising net debt as a percentage of GSP over the medium term. We're acquiring that the money at this stage by the modernisation of Vic Roads. This process involved consultation with Vic Roads workers, unions, motorist groups and other stakeholders, not just ensuring that we have a fund to secure Victoria's future, but for generations to come. The Vic Roads modernisation process has always been integral to improving Vic Roads service deliveries. If everyone would cast their minds back all the way back to 2022, the Vic Roads modernisation process is the reason why we're able to abolish learners and probationary licence fees, an incredible win on families and young Victorians. Removing this barrier means that we can get more young Victorians learning to drive, one of the most exciting milestones in a young person's life. But with this modernisation, Vic Roads is still in public hands because we believe that something as important as your licence and your registration should be regulated. It should be in the hands of you. Put simply, Vic Roads should stay in the hands of the Victorian people, which it has. I commend this bill to the House and urge my colleagues to vote it up in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Berger. Mr Eddershank.